I'm reusing this photo of a toilet in the middle of the mountain somewhere to talk about sleep issues. Quite frankly, I have difficulty regulating uh, when I go to sleep, and that means like I can go to sleep, I can go to bed at the same time. I can have a dark room, no lights, abstain from caffeine like 8 hours beforehand, and stay away from the blue light. And I still won't sleep all night. If I don't have um, the uh, the sweet leaf, quite frankly, it's much more difficult. And being in prison didn't help, and neither did being in the psych ward. Neither of these things helped me one bit, not once. Um, if, for my immediate person, like talking to the people and maybe them talking to other people may assist me in ways that I don't know or understand, or ways that I don't need to know or I don't need to understand. But it's just like, okay, so you're in the psych ward, and every hour the nurses do their rounds, and the same thing in the prison, right? Your cellies are on sedatives or some other drugs, quite frankly, and I mean like pharmaceuticals, not like paper or any of this new shit that's going through the states right now. Um, so it's like you get to close your eyes a little bit, and then the guard comes around with a flashlight or the through the window or the uh it just I can't even, or the ward comes through and opens the door and flashes a light out through the floor. Like I know it's their job, but it's like it's such an interruption in a place that is not particularly friendly. Clinical means clinical means sanitized, right? There are things to do, right? And prison is much worse in its conditions than being in a psych ward. I would have rather stayed my entire term in the psych ward than I would have in the prison, um, for obvious reasons. But it's just one of those things that stays with you, and I find myself damaged physically from being in there, especially on the shoulders, because well, you get a mattress, but it's no guarantee it's going to be a good one or a newer one, and you're basically lying on concrete. Like your shoulder is on concrete, your hip is on concrete, and there's nothing you can do about it. You have to wait, right, until another opportunity comes around to swap the mattress or whatever else, and it could be days, it could be weeks, it could be months. You never fucking know. um and the sheets, I'm lying, I'm talking about this. I'm lying here, um in my own bed with an actual mattress. It doesn't have a box spring, which would be much more luxurious in all ways. But at least I don't have to deal with all of that shit, right? The psychological death by 1,000 cuts. It, I just sometimes things are a coincidence, and then sometimes they're not. In which the the set and the setting of where you are, right? Your environment uh, is used to psychologically torture you, because these are all soft tactics, right? Of how, say, a door works or doesn't work and doesn't get attended to, or how a washing machine only works half the time. And it's like, what the fuck, this is just a simple prerequisite. Why is this continuing to happen? And it's because It's just because, because someone wants to be an asshole, and someone wants to torture you for the place that you're in, and that's exactly the results of this Stanford prison experiment. A prison doesn't have to be a space in which has uh, bars on its doors or has other people lock you into a cell. Look at what they did to Napoleon. They exiled him to an island, to his own little island, right? So you can be in prison in many different spaces, and life is full of traps, right? But there is no greater prison than a relationship that you're not in love with anymore, or a person you're in a relationship with, a person that purposefully tortures you. There's no easier way to screw up your life than to get hooked up with the wrong person. And I'm speaking from observation here. I've watched uh, my my girlfriends slip away and become radicalized, and that's one of the motivations that inspired me to start this whole thing, is because I was just sick and tired of being made into this punching bag, and this dead horse to be beaten because I have blonde hair and I have a penis. That's how ridiculous things became. And other things I've said about the system here in Canada, and one in particular, is that therapy is for women and prison is for men. And prison is basically, in Canada, it's daycare with violent playmates. Okay, in most cases, it's very easy to get along with other prisoners, unless it's one of the baddest of the bad prisons, where people are just ornery and purposeful, and they take pride in their accomplishments of murdering people or raping people and dismembering them and eating their internal organs. Like, this is really fucked up. I'm serious. Like, again, there's stuff out there for your purview. I can't even say purview. In much worse circumstances, especially with for-profit prisons or institutions that have been neglected, uh, because of this attitude that, oh, we don't want prison to be a place where people want to come back to, or these people are animals and they have no self-respect and they will live in their filth no matter what. And you know what? I think there's merit to both of those things, but there's no reason to torture a human being ever, because the chance, especially in a prisoner kind of scenario, it removes the opportunity, as we know from Gitmo and the stuff that happens, um, you know, shamefully. And we've learned lessons. Hopefully, we've learned lessons from that, in which we allowed which we allowed academics to run the show. But academics are not the ones walking the prisons and talking to the prisoners and seeing the conditions. Right? There was a great moment in Canadian history, and you know who saved those inmates? It was a woman. It was a Canadian heritage moment, and we really need, in my opinion, to open up some detention centers, detention camps. We're going to have to do it. We're going to have to open up ICE style deportation camps, and it's not going to be popular. And my suggestion is that we put it on Manitoulin Island, like we did for the Germans in the Second World War. There's no reason to treat them like shit. Absolutely none. If the only device that the people are given is physical intervention, then that's the only one that they'll ever use.